Good morning, everyone. For those who didn't attend my first presentation 2 days ago, I'm Rizak from Copernicus Marine User Support Team. Today, I will be presenting the Copernicus Marine Toolbox, which is also used to remotely open and download Copernicus Marine data. So let's dive into it. So Copernicus Marine Toolbox is an open source package which is used to retrieve various metadata information available in our catalog. It also allows you to download subsets of data sets by extracting only the parts of the data that you need. Copernicus Marine Toolbox also offers you the possibility to download the original files, the data in their original forms. And another advantage of the toolbox is that you don't have a memory limit when it comes to downloading the data. Unlike when using the graphical interface, here, as long as your machine can handle the memory, then you are good to download the amount that suits you. So another advantage of the toolbox is that it allows to optimally and parallelly download the data. This is due to the conversion of the data to the analysis ready cloud optimized format, the ARCO format, which means that the data has been homogenized for ease of use and interoperability. Cloud optimized, which means also that the data has been optimally stored, which allows the fast and the parallel access to it. The toolbox also offers various services. So we have the ARCO GeoSeries service, which is optimized to analyze larger geographical area within small period of times. And we have also the ARCO time series service, which is optimized to analyze small geographical area within a big period of time. And we also have the original file service, which allows you to access to the data and retrieve it in its original form. So the Copernicus Marine Toolbox also offers various functions to execute it. So first we have the login function. So with this one, you can log in and begin downloading your data and also remotely open it. And when executing the login function, you will be getting an automatically generated file which contains your credentials. We have also the describe function, which allows you to retrieve the metadata related to the data that you wish to explore. And the particularity with this one is that it doesn't require you to be logged in. And then we have the get function, which allows you to access the file browser service and get the data in its original form. And we have also the subset function, which allows you to retrieve only subset of data by selecting only the needed parts. To execute this function, you can use two different supports. You can use the command line interface, like in my case, the MD4 prompt, or feel free to use the prompt that suits you. You can also use the Python API interface, application programming interface. And for that, you can use Jupyter Notebook, for example, or Visual Studio Code, or any other editor that suits you. So now let's take a look on how to get started with the toolbox. So first things first is that you can access our website and go to the user support section here, and then go access our help center and FAQ section. Here we'll be getting various articles which speaks about various topics. The section that we need to access is Copernicus Marine Data Download, and you click on it, and here you can see also that you have various topics, and the one that you need to access is the Copernicus Marine Toolbox section. So once there, you will be finding various articles which speaks about on how to get started first with the toolbox and then how to use it with examples. So let's say the first section here, we have an introduction article, which basically defines the toolbox and how to use it in general. We also have an interesting article which speaks about on how to install the toolbox with the steps listed. Of course, as the user support team, always recommend installing the latest version of the toolbox. And for that, we always recommend using a Mamba environment. The advantage is not only you would get the latest version of the toolbox, but also you will prevent all the errors related to the dependencies, dependencies conflicts. Here in the main functionalities, we have also various articles which speaks about on how to use the function that I have presented, the subset function, the get function within the two different supports, the command line interface and the Python API interface. We also have some use cases articles here, which speaks about how to use the toolbox for those who wish to go further and take a look at different examples in which you can use the toolbox. And also for those who don't wish to work with Python, the toolbox is also available and you can work with it using R, for example, or MATLAB. Troubleshooting and FAQs contains also some interesting articles. The one that we recommend to consult is the troubleshoot articles, which contains the common errors that can occur when installing or using the toolbox. So if you encounter an error, you can consult this article, take a look at the common errors that can occur and with an answer to it. So it's always a good thing to consult it in case you have a given error. Reporting an issue or a feature request speaks about how to report an issue or a feature request and lists the steps to follow. Next milestones and roadmap present the breaking changes that will occur in the future releases of the toolbox. Of course, here we have an archive to the toolbox, which is basically a set of articles which speaks about the previous version of the toolbox. Of course, as I said, we always recommend installing the latest version to get the full access to our data. And if you need further assistance, you can go to the message icon here and go to the news icon, for example, and take a look at the latest version of the toolbox. You scroll down, you're going to see that the latest version is the 2.0. Also, we can go to the help here and type in your research in our help center. And then let's say, for example, you can type in toolbox introduction. You will be getting the article corresponding to your research. And of course, if you need further assistance, you can go to the message icon here, click on it and ask your question to our chatbot Blue. So let's say I want to ask a question, how to use the toolbox. So what Blue is going to do is that he's going to explore our data center and we try to come up with the best suitable answer for your question. And Blue is optimized in such a way that he always came up and joined sources at the end of its response. These sources will guide you to the related articles, which you can consult and find the best suitable answer to your question. Of course, if the answer doesn't satisfy you, you can always go with the talk to a person option, click on it, and you will be redirected to us, the user support team, and we will be glad to help you out. So now let's say that you have followed all the necessary steps. You have created your environment using Mamba and installed the toolbox within it. So now you will be ready to go and start using the toolbox. So for that, I will open my MD4 prompt and begin with the first command. So the first command is always to activate your environment, and for that you can use this command, Mamba activate CMT. And as you can see, I'm no longer in my base, but in my environment. Of course, CMT is the name I give to my environment. Feel free to give it the name that you wish. And now I will check for my Copernicus Marine version. For that, really simple, just type in Copernicus Marine, followed by the version option. And as you can see, I'm using the latest version, which is the 2.0 version. So now let's print some details about the describe function, the first function that I have defined. So again, always type in Copernicus Marine, which is the name of our package, Copernicus Marine Toolbox, followed by the name of the function, which is the describe function, and followed by the help option here. And as you can see, we can take a look at all the options that you can include within your request. Of course, you can use, for example, dataset ID or just I to short it. And here on the left are the option, and on the right, it's the description of each option. Of course, I'm not going to dive in detail on each option. So what I recommend to do is to go to the Help Center, type in Describe Toolbox, and you will be getting the article which speaks in details on how to use this function. So let's clean up the terminal and move on to the next one, which is the login function. Again, just type in Copernicus Marine, followed by the name of the function, which is login in this case. So now this function requires to put your credentials. So I will put my username and my password. As you can see, you won't be able to see what you are typing when it comes to the password. So make sure you type in the right one. So here, since I have already logged in, I already used this function. It's asking me to overwrite it. So just click on yes, just to show you the process. And my credential files is created in my Copernicus Marine environment. If we check it here in Copernicus Marine, and then we can see the credentials files has been created. So perfect. Let's move on to the next one, which is the get function. For that, again, we will print the details about this one. Copernicus Marine get, followed always by the help option here. And then we can see the different options that you can include. Of course, all these are optionals except for the dataset ID one. You need to put your dataset ID or simply I to specify the dataset that you need to download. For that, we're going to use an example. Just clean up, and I will use the example of the dataset that I have presented in my first presentation. This one. Just going to copy and paste the name, the dataset ID, and then use the I, as I said, to specify the dataset ID. And you can also apply the filter option here, which you will find among the options, and only download a certain period. For that, I'm just going to use the regex option. This will open the brackets, star. Let's say I want to download 2024, January 22nd to 23rd. We'll just close the regex option here. And then I can also specify my output directory just by putting the O and just going to select an output directory, the data, for example. Just going to copy the path here. And now I'm ready to download my data. Everything looks fine. So click on download. So here, as you can see, the data is being downloaded. And if we check our output directory data, then you can see that my data is indeed being downloaded for the month of January. So perfect. Now let's close this tab and move on to the next function. Of course, for this next one, I'm going to use the Python API interface, which is the subset function. So as I said, you can use the one that suits you. Personally, I use the Visual Studio Code one. And same thing, first things first is always to activate your environment, in my case, CMT here in the kernel section, and then begin with the code. So the first step is always to import the package. import Copernicus Marine, and then we'll print the details about the subset function also. And for that, just type in the name of the package followed by the name of my function to print, and at the end an interrogation point, which is the equivalent to the help option in the command line interface. So as you can see also, we have various options that you can include when using the subset function. And for example, you have the output directory, you can specify the minimum latitude values, the variables. So many various options that you can explore in details within our articles in the help center. So now I will just give another example on how to download the data using this one. And again, I will go back to the My Ocean Viewer Pro and simply give you an example. For those who didn't intend it, that would be a glimpse on how you can use this tool. So I will just use the define on map option, go to the surface that I have created, and then automate. In here, I will be getting two different templates. I have the command line interface one, and since I'm using a Python API, so this is the one that I'm going to use. Simply copy it, go back to VS Code, and then no need to import this again. So here at the end, I can specify my output directory also. Specify the output directory. Again, just going to copy and paste path like this. And now let's download the subset. So the subset is being downloaded. It shouldn't take a long time. All right, perfect. As you can see, the data has been successfully downloaded. And if we go back to our output directory, indeed, my netcdf file has been downloaded. All right, let's move on to the next one. So this one don't allow you to download the data, but only remotely open it. You can though use it to post-process applications, which is called also the open data sets. This one is particularly interesting when it comes to, let's say you want to download the given data set, but you don't exactly know what it is. So you don't have to download all the data sets and then open it and proceed to delete. So you can simply explore, remotely open the data and see what the variables are. And then you can jump in and use the subset function to download it or the get function. So again, I will just use the type in this command to print the details on this one. Of course, change the name of the function to open data set. So as you can see, you can include many various options also, except for the output directory, because the downloading process, as I said, is not included within this one. So let's simply copy this template and paste it here, because it's basically the same syntax, except changing the name, of course, of the of the function. Just give it a name here, print it, and then dataset. Of course, remove the output directory since we don't have to, we can download the data with it. We're using this one. And now we should be able to print our subset of data and take a look at the details. So here we have the dimensions, the coordinates, the variables, as well as the metadata of my subset. There is also a way to export this subset of data into a netcdf file using the open dataset one. And for that, you can use a method called toNetCDF. For that, it's really simple. Just type in the name of your created subset, followed by the method toNetCDF here, and specify your output directory where you want to store your data, like this. And just don't forget to give a name to your data file. Just call it data point NC, which is the extension, netcdf, and run the cell. So my data should now be exported to my output directory into a netcdf file. So there is a way to export your subset of data, but only by using the toNetCDF method. So let's now move on to another similar function, but this one allows us to open the data in form of data frames and also allows us to export it into a CSV file this time for those who wish to explore the data in CSV. So this one is called open read data frame. For that, just going to copy and paste the same template and change the name of the function. So in this case, read data frame, run the cell. So just keep in mind that the data is no longer available in XRA packages, but only in pandas. And make sure that before you open your data using it, you first create your subset and then open it, because otherwise you will be getting a message telling you that the amount you have selected is not supported. In this case, it's working. We have selected our subset of data, we have opened it, and as you can see, we have our data printed in data frame form. So now, as I said, we can export this data into a CSV file. And for that, we're just going to use basically the same syntax here, except changing the name of our method, because we are going to use the toCSV method, specify and change here our extension to CSV of false. Run the cell, and we should be able to take a look and see that our data has been successfully exported into a CSV file. So perfect. I think we have covered all the main feature and option that you can include when using the various function of the toolbox. And again, if you wish to go further in your research, just go back to our site and take a look here at the user corner, for example. If you want to explore all the data that are available to be downloaded using the toolbox, go to the user notification service, and you can go here into this section, data availability on new services. And now you will be getting a table, a PDF table. This one contains all the data sets that are archivied in ARCO format and are ready to be downloaded within the subset service, because sometimes we have various requests from users that telling us that they cannot download the data, but the reason is that it's simply that the data is not ready available in the ARCO format, which means that you cannot download it using the subset service. So I think that's it for today's presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. And please, if you have any question, ask them. I will be glad to answer it. Enjoy the rest of the event, and thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Rezak, for your presentation about the Copernicus Toolbox. So we have a few questions for you, and we will go to them in a few seconds. Up. So the first one being, is the Copernicus Marine Toolbox only available for Python?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Is the Copernicus Marine Toolbox only available for Python?
No, as I said, we have there is other ways to use the toolbox. You can use it using R, for example, using MATLAB. And for that, you can just go to our help center and type in the toolbox keyword followed by, let's say, for example, use the toolbox within R within MATLAB, and you'll be getting articles which lists and speaks on how to use it with examples, of course. But so it remains possible, yes.
Okay, thanks. The next question, what are the main differences from the Wikio Copernicus viewer, so the expert data viewer, and the Copernicus Marine Toolbox, like data sets, pinpoint, data download, versions, etc.?
I cannot exactly say the differences. And
I think the Wikio viewer is more like the MyOcean Pro viewer.
Yes, I would say the same thing since the MyOcean Pro Viewer allows you to analyze and download the data, but the user can reach out to us to the chat and we will check in it in details and give it the best answer. So, yes.
Okay, thanks. I can put the question on the side also. Hop. Okay, technical question. I noticed the toolbox uses S3 buckets to retrieve data. Can I use the S3 bucket URLs, to retrieve the data with HTTP requests instead of using CLI or Python IPAs?
Yes, yes, indeed. We use this the S3 buckets to retrieve the data. Unfortunately, you cannot access this service since the service is reserved to us to get the data retrieved. So the users cannot access this service, unfortunately.
Okay, okay, thanks. A more general question, can I download data from a specific time period?
Yes, it is possible. As I said, you can use the subset function for that. And within this, you have options that includes the start date and end date, which means that you can specify your time period as well as your variables that you wish to download. And yes, you can download it.
Thanks. Another technical question, can JetBrains PyCharm Community Edition be used for working with Python in this case? Is it compatible since you mentioned that you've used Python?
Yes, PyCharm remains also a Python editor, so it's basically the same things with VS Code. If you can use the toolbox with VS Code, that I don't see any issues using PyCharm within it. So yes, I would say that you can use the toolbox using PyCharm.
Okay, thanks. So for now, that's the